remind everyone to please turn your cell phones to mute, please. And the format today, as it was this morning for Marist, will be we'll take questions for the student athletes first, and then we'll dismiss them, and then we'll have questions for Coach Crowley. First of all, St. Bonaventure's first trip to the NCAA tournament. They post their 30th victory, the number 5 seed. They will meet fellow upstate New York squad Marist tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the championship game. All-time series tied between the Bonnies and Red Foxes, 3 games each. I just figured I'd look that up. I knew that it's been a while. Joining us on the dais today are sophomore forward Doris Ortega and junior forward Chelsea Boker. Each had 10 points in yesterday's win over Florida Gulf Coast. We'll take questions at this time for the student athletes. Please, as has been protocol, introduce yourself. Let us know your media affiliation, and then fire away.
Okay. Amy Morris, Buffalo News. Chelsea, the last 2 times you have played Marist, you've had big games. I guess just talk about the matchup with Marist, and maybe if there's anything that you guys take from that game in December.
We know it's going to be tough. Every game's tough. That's why we've made it to March. And we all go out with the same mindset every game. So no matter what the name is on the jersey, we play like we play against a top-ranked opponent. So.
Is there anything like against Marist that you've been able to have some success against, or just happens?
My team really does their thing. They get me shots, and I just try to put them in for them. If they're going to get me open, I try to do it. I try to repay them. So.
Doris and Chelsea, when you saw Marist in the same bracket playing down here as you, did you kind of think, boy, would it be kind of cool to play those guys again?
I thought it would be cool just because we played against them before and we were kind of acquainted with them. But it's also, we have to take into consideration that when we played them, that was in December. A lot of teams may not even have been playing their best. I know we were still trying to get on point with the way we play. So it is cool to play a team, especially from kind of like the same area and a team that we played before. But we're going to take it into, as we do any other game, and just be mentally and physically prepared for the battle.
Sean McMahon, Poughkeepsie Journal. For both of the players, regardless of which team wins tomorrow, there's going to be a mid-major team from upstate New York in the Sweet 16. Can you talk about what it's like to represent New York and a mid-major conference, no matter which team wins in the Sweet 16?
That's something that's we've been working hard for. A lot of adversity has been coming towards us, especially since we are new to the NCAA tournament. But as far as 2 New York teams making it, it's an accomplishment. Something that you really don't hear a lot of New York teams making it. You hear about the Baylors and the Final Four teams. So I think that's just hard work on our part and on Marist as well. It's just making a name for teams in the New York area.
Is it? You've beaten Marist. Bonna's beaten Marist 3 straight times now, and the Marist players, they know that. There's a little sense of we want to get this one, get it back, especially from December. From your standpoint, it can be hard to keep beating a team. Excuse me. Can you just talk about facing Marist and what kind of attitude they're going to bring? So how do you approach? Is it difficult to approach a team that you've now beaten 3 straight times?
I mean, like we said before, we approach every game like we would any other game, and if we have the right mindset, we're gonna be all right. But I mean, Marist is good, and they've played us 3 times, so they know what's coming. So it's gonna be a battle, and both teams love to compete. So.
I'm Brent Kalstedt from the Associated Press. Your Marist coach, Chelsea, says he's seen all of you that he needs to see, and anybody that lets you get open for 3s coming out of the game. How do you accept that kind of a challenge?
Like I said before, our team does what we need to do, and we each have roles. So if that happens, then I guess I'll set some screens, get some rebounds, and other people on our team are capable of making threes, just how any other player on Marist can make threes. I mean, there's not only one thing that we all can do. So.
You just talk about the confidence though that you have from the experiences and the success you've had playing down.
Like I said, one of the coaches challenged me before, and if we all have the right mindset, then we're gonna go out and do it. And if I don't get an open three, I don't get an open three, but it doesn't mean that it's gonna stop me from playing my hardest.
Additional questions for student athletes? Ladies, we'll let you go. Rejoin your teammates.
Coach, Marissa Jackswine, and I asked Coach George just kind of the same thing, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. He said kind of did have a feeling when you saw that Marist was in this bracket, you guys would both be down here in Tallahassee. Did you have, not that you looked past Florida Gulf Coast at all, but did you almost have a little bit of a feeling that this would end up being the second round matchup?
Excuse me, no. I was terrified of Florida Gulf Coast, and rightfully so. And as I kind of said yesterday, I'm not good at reflecting. I'm not good at stepping outside of one thing. And that, if I do, I screw up that one thing. So we were pretty dialed in on Florida Gulf Coast. I was really happy to see them down here because Brian has been terrific to me ever since his days at Lourdes. And I was a Division III coach. He was always really, really good to me. And he's such a great coach, and their kids are all really good kids. So we're excited to be down here with them. We thought that would be a really good opportunity just to support them, and whatever happened that first day would happen.
Jim, what's it like to be facing Marist, a team that, I mean, you guys are very familiar with each other. You've had some knockdown, drag-outs in the last few years. Just, I guess, can you just talk a little bit about the matchup with Marist? And you guys are both with different teams than you were in December.
Yeah, we could have met in Binghamton. It would have been a little easier, cut the difference, but we love Tallahassee. It's beautiful down here. So, sorry, I digress. Back to your question. They are, I think Chelsea mentioned it, 14 was coming into her first game, I believe, or I think it was her first game as point guard when they played us. They had suffered a really tough loss to Boston U and had 8 days off prior. And Gomez didn't even make the trip. I don't believe she made the trip in our game. What I think is really different is now you just see their comfortableness with 14 running the point and really making plays for them. She's a tough kid and makes really big plays for them. And the other players have settled into how they can play with her and what they can do when she can find them or help them defensively. So they are very much a different team. They're a team that is always very comfortable in what they do and how they do it. And I think they're passing the ball really, really well right now, which is what they're always known for, and they were struggling a little bit with earlier in the year. And they have 2 seniors who are playing exceptional basketball and certainly present really good challenges to us because they spread you out, they're making jump shots, and as they shown yesterday, they're really good at getting to the basket as well.
Jim, I know you and Brian are good friends. You play a similar style. My God, you guys have played some ugly games. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's everyone has a different definition of ugly. I've thought some of the games we've played have been just terrific basketball games because of the execution of game plans that both teams have put forth and the defensive preparedness and, again, execution the players have put forth. So I think you're seeing 2 teams who, again, are both really comfortable with who they are and they're both comfortable with the other team and how to take that away. And then it just becomes who's fortunate enough to have some players make some plays later in the game.
Well, I use that word because Brian did.
I think I'm the only basketball person in the world who doesn't mind those games.
Jim, we've talked about Jessica this year when she's had an off game, she's come back usually with a pretty big game. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast played some great defense on her yesterday. I guess, what do you see from her in the way in which that she might be able to rebound from that game?
Well, you know, Jess is going to be Jess. She's going to bust her butt. She's going to work really hard to get open. I thought we missed her a few times, especially in the second half when she had freed herself. I thought in the first half she pressed and felt like she had to get some shots up because they took things away. We really want to avoid that. She understood that, and you know, I think the moment got her caught. But you know, we got to do a better job of getting some screens for her. We got to do a better job of finding her when she gets open. You know, she did a good job later in the game going off the bounce. I thought her floater was a big play for us yesterday. You know, so they're going to be exceptionally prepared to take her away, and so she's going to have to be able to make some plays within the flow of the game that will create opportunities for her.
Just a follow-up on Jess, and we so often talk about her basketball skills, but she's a gym rat in every sense of the word, and with her fitness, have you noticed over the last 4 years her game being impacted by her, you know, dedication to weight room, yoga, all that sort of stuff?
Without question. I mean, she just doesn't tire. You know, I mean, yesterday was a prime example. I mean, they were Florida Gulf Coast is an incredibly conditioned team who plays at a really high level, and Jess still had it going late and in overtime, and she just, and that's all her nutrition, her fitness, all of that stuff, and not to mention what's inside of her. She's got as good a drive as any athlete I've been around.
Coach, again, with two mid-major teams fighting for a spot in the Sweet 16 tomorrow, what's to say about the state of the women's game where, particularly in this tournament, anyone can advance and has a chance to move on?
I think what's happening a little bit is that there's just more progression of the number of people playing, the number of women's basketball being played and being taught. You know, when I started at Bonaventure 12 years ago, we would have been lucky to have any of the kids we had. We just couldn't have got them. Now we got a lot of them when no one else wanted them. So I think that's the progression, and it's really not a progression that much different than men's basketball. I mean, I grew up outside the Syracuse area, and I remember going up to the games at the Dome for the NCAA tournament, and Syracuse was playing there, which is the same thing that's, you know, happening at a lot of sites here. So I think sometimes as fans and people of the game, we want it to go faster, but I think the progression of our game is moving at a great pace, and the fact that teams like ourselves and Marist, I'm telling you what, if Gulf Coast was in another region, they might still be playing too. It just shows that more people are playing and playing at a really high level and finding success with all these different schools.
Coach, you mentioned a moment ago about being caught up in the moment. Were you at all concerned about that when you brought your club here, first tournament, first postseason NCAA tournament, about how the players might react?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it hit. We had that happen in our championship game, and we got out of it, but we had dug too big a hole. You know, so you get worried that it can happen at different times. It can happen at the start of the game, or it could happen when things get difficult. And I thought a little bit maybe it did in the second half when Gulf Coast made their run. I think our kids kind of just stopped doing what we're doing because of whether it be the crowd or the atmosphere or whatever. So again, it's a concern for tomorrow. I think both teams are helped by the familiarity, and certainly, you know, Marist has kids who've been in this situation before, so I would say they have an advantage there. But you know, when it gets late, it becomes just kids who don't want to lose and do everything they can to do something about that.
Coach, just to follow up a little bit more on the fact that this is two mid-major teams from New York, how unique does that make it? Because we've been hearing so much about it, especially from the people down here in Florida, when they find out that Marist won and then you guys won. It's exciting to them that it's two New York schools down here meeting in the second round.
I think it's great. I'm an upstate guy, is through and through. So the fact that you know, two teams with a pretty good history of basketball. I mean, Marist obviously has a better recent history of women's basketball than we do, but you know, I think it's great that, you know, down here people are hearing our names and excited about the opportunity, and I think even nationally it's something that hopefully will be projected. You know, we're fortunate to have some pretty good New York players. You know, obviously Marist does as well with Akanan and some of those kids. So, you know, I think it's a really good thing for basketball in upstate, and hopefully for some of the other mid-majors, because there's certainly some other really good mid-major teams in upstate New York as well.
Any additional questions for Coach? Coach, we'll see you tomorrow night.
So yeah,
After
thank you
7
very
o'clock.
much.